So on your own journey, after you spent some time in the Rajneesh movement as a sannyasi,
Yes.
and then you went, I know, for several years, and you were connected with Michael Barnett, who was, of course, Samendra, one of the main people in the Rajneesh movement. And that is very much about energy work, isn't it?
Michael's energy work is amazing.
So just explain briefly how that works.
I wish I knew.
But I mean, for you, how it works. I mean, from a personal point of view.
It's almost the same process.
It's homeopathy.
As homeopathy.
Yeah.
Because somehow he uses these. Well, he works in many different ways. He sets up little nests of people together. He selects them very carefully. And then he walks around and he'll touch somebody on the shoulder, or he'll whisper something to somebody. This has happened to me many times with him. And something starts to move inside. And it can produce a catharsis of tears, often the case. So many people are carrying tears, and sometimes, as it was my case, didn't know about it until that magic moment when this trigger happens. And then joy bursts forward. And it's not necessarily just something that happens over a 3 or 4 day or 5 day workshop. The fruits of that might come months later. One suddenly gets an insight. It's like when you get a joke, you don't necessarily get the joke and the laugh.
I'm usually very slow to get them. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. You don't necessarily get the joke when it's told, but later on you go, oh.
I know that feeling, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that, yes, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I think in some ways I've been quite privileged in respect of, and I've been working off and on, more on than off with Michael for 25 years or more. Both in terms of doing his workshops and his seminars, and also in private conversations. I've been privileged to have a lot of private conversations with him, extensive, deeply personal conversations, and have been able to occasionally prescribe homeopathic remedies for him when he's had bad times.
It's almost as if now we're, without wanting to sound too dramatic, that the human race is not playing its cards very well with the planet, and the planet's going to start really shaking us about pretty soon unless we change very fast.
Yes.
And it's almost as if we need, as a human race, collectively, that homeopathic remedy to transform, or the Michael Barnett or whatever it is, energy thing to transform, because something radical has to happen pretty fast. Is that something you feel?
I felt that for a long time, actually, a very long time. That well, I'll tell you how I feel about it, actually. If humanity doesn't get its act together, that is to say, if the human experiment doesn't get its act together, we will disappear.
Well, it's if you really look at the facts, it's looking that way. But I'm more interested, not so much we get it together, because I think on a logical level we can't do it. It's just there's too many obstacles in the way, and people's minds just take too long to process things. But maybe energetically, on a transformational point of view, something can happen, and that particularly interests me, whether that can happen or whether you think that can happen.
I think it can happen if individual people will actually give up the game that they're playing and allow change, positive change to occur.
So it has to be an openness from...
They have to be willing to allow all that personal ego stuff to take second place, to step out of the limelight, as it were.
You know, maybe you have to make up a homeopathic remedy and put it in the water supply or something. And
no.
is that possible?
It's entirely possible, but it's not going to happen because it would, apart from anything else, it would be unethical. People have to, as it were, ask for that.
And that's an interesting question. So, and I suppose in a way, the act of going to a homeopath and you sit there for, in your case, an hour and a half, and you tell your life story up to that point, that is an invitation, obviously, to the homeopath that you want change and you want something to trigger a healing or a transformation in your life.
In the case of my own case,
yes,
I was doubly fortunate.
Yes.
I'd had this really, really shattering illness.
Yes.
Which had, to all intents and purposes, taken all my strength and energy away. And I knew I had to do something, and I would be prepared to do anything at all to get back to my usual level of vitality. So, in going to Julian, for example, in the way that I did, he recognised this guy needs X remedy. That's the first thing he needs.
Yeah, but also you're inviting, that's the point I'm trying to make, you're inviting him by going there and opening up in your life.
That was the point.
Yeah.
In saying, tell me your story, and then, in effect, giving me permission to tell me my story, I was giving him permission to respond homeopathically to that story.
Yes, yeah.
And as I didn't know what a homeopathic response would be, he had a blank check in effect.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
And I think we have to finish in a couple of minutes. I'm just thinking now about our theme we were just talking about with humanity as a whole. Humanity is maybe not perhaps giving the invitation collectively yet for something to happen in terms of a deep transformation, and that's what maybe the next stage is. Anyway, I have to leave that with a question maybe not answered by yourself. Thank you for coming along today, Adam, and sharing yourself and your story and your amazing healings that took place. And thank you everyone for watching Conscious TV, and I hope we see you again soon. Goodbye.